Web 3.0 Governance and Infrastructure.
Thanks, everyone. So I think we need to start with a Web3 kind of definition. So it's kind of what does Web3 mean to all of us? And if I just go across the panel, just to give an overview of, your perspectives or where you see what Web3 is, very briefly, just to give an idea on what we're going to discuss regarding the governance and the infrastructure associated with it.
Okay. So I think that today, at first, it's still a difficult question. What is it exactly? Because it is a new type of internet, and to really understand what is it, we need to compare it with Web 1 and Web 2. In Web 1, it was just static pages, static content, and fully centralized system. In Web 2 era, people start to do social engagement, but still it was centralized. And today we see that internet become decentralized ecosystem where we become owners of our content, where we can do different decentralized systems that operates seamless and government on the user side.
So I would totally agree what you just said. So for me, Web3 means that any person who's interacting with internet or who is engaging anything kind of internet activities, that he and she should have the participation and the ownership of his interaction with internet. At this moment, you can see there are a lot of big data companies. I mean, you can name each one of them from Facebook to Instagram. They are the ones who actually use our data, all the email providers, and they are the ones who, without our consent, they are the ones who actually benefit from our data where we have no say or no participation. And Web3 changes it to the participation of the end user.
Exactly.
I completely agree to the point where we say that, people have got a lot of more authority over what's happening when it comes down to a certain Web3 product, because community is like a very, very core thing. So for me, I would say that Web3 makes things more open source. With that fact, that doesn't mean completely to the code perspective, but also how people are contributing to it and making sure that there's like complete transparency between all these things happening within the product and community.
Exactly. So basically, trustless, decentralized, and permissionless is the key to the Web3. So on that, in terms of the Web3 infrastructure needed and what we're developing now between us, in different aspects, what is that type of infrastructure that is being developed now from your perspective? Give us some ideas of what that looks like and how it's going to mature.
So it looks like a modulus system that consists of different infrastructure utilities. First of all, it's a decentralized file system, IPFS. Further on, it can be decentralized the name system, also decentralized identities, and of course oracles, because we need to get some on-chain data from off-chain space, and we can do it only from. But for me still it's a little bit difficult to say that infrastructure layer become strong and powerful, because still it's growing. So, and the new technologies, I think we can say that wallets also they are in infrastructure layer. How do you think?
Exactly. Well, I mean, we'll get to the conclusion where we are, but if we'll carry on.
Yeah, I think for the infrastructure side, I was still in the start, but we are doing pretty good. I mean, when it started with Ethereum and everything, you have now layer ones, layer zeros. You can do quite a lot through smart contract, and you have enough blockchains to choose from, which are, one blockchain has a niche in something, the other one is more faster, the other one is for the data storage. So there is quite a lot of options in the infrastructure part, if you see. And when it comes to layer ones, layer zeros, they are the true part of the infrastructure thing. But then you come layer 2 and the decentralized applications which are on the top of that. So all together, we have quite a lot of options from the infra side, and there are new projects coming. Like we are layer 1, but we're only focusing on the data part, which is the key in the whole decentralized part. There are other layer ones which are focusing only on the smart contract. The other ones are on NFT. So I think we are going on a very good speed and a good level when it comes to infrastructure part.
Thank you.
So I think infrastructure kind of breaks down into a lot of things, right? There is got storage, which is what Naveen is talking about. Then there we have got layers, layer 1, L1, L2. And majorly, I think these infrastructure are supposed to solve the problem of blockchain trilemma, which is around security, decentralization, and more, right? So including those, then we have got the communication protocols and other set of things like in the services, you go down to DeFi, you go down to NFT. So there is a lot of breakage and a lot of things kind of uprising when it comes down to the infrastructure point as a service and even as like, as a product.
Okay, thanks very much. I think now the governance is the key. Now, how is this governance model, what is the governance model of the Web3? And how is it different to what we have existing digital data governance? So as we heard, data is key, and who owns that data, who manages that data. So the idea of the Web3 is that we as users have self-sovereignty and access to our data and can manage it. However, we're still humans and we still need, I believe, some sort of governance on top of that. Right now, a central government is managing that for us. How is the Web3 changing that, and how would, what is needed for that governance model to be put in place that, we can achieve this kind of utopia, if you like, of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous kind of authority, managing this for us?
I think that in the main difference in concept of centralization and decentralization. Now, all government centralized because it's all logic server side. If we talk techniques, and if we see what happening now, the logic become blockchain side, smart contract side, and first of all, it do it transparent. If government centralized, it's not transparent. If it's decentralized, so it's transparent and it's more, more true.
Thank you. Naveen?
So I think the main important part of the governance or how it changes is decentralization gives the key to the governance to the end customer. If it's a data or whatever you have on the decentralization part, your wallet, you are having your private key. You have your public key, which you can share with the people, but you as an individual have access with your private key. And normally, if it's a public blockchain, your data is only accessible through your private key. So unless you share it with somebody else, it has never been seen that public blockchain has been hacked because of its decentralization nature. So you are the real owner, so governance is in your hands. There is no CEO of a company or a big company which is in background using your data or anything which you're doing. If you see even Apple and companies like that, there are a lot of hacks happening, that your passwords have been taken, everything, and you see that every 6 weeks, 8 weeks, the news comes, it dies down, but that's a poor governance. It's actually centralized governance, I would say. And decentralized governance is you as end user, you have your access, you have your private key, you lose it, you lose access to your data, but that's a part, that's the price you have to pay for the security part. So that's why decentralization is, I would say, it's a self-governed mechanism, and even if you see a lot of big projects which failed, was not regulated. This is not unregulated space, but the space is regulated by users itself. When you talk about a project and say, hey, this project doesn't look like genuine, everyone withdraws the liquidity, the trust is gone, and the project dies. So the governance is actually based on individual and community, which is very different part. if you compare it with centralized part.
Thank you.
I think I want to put a term to what we have been referring to decentralization and governance, which is DAOs, like decentralized autonomous organization. A lot of products are trying to set up their own DAOs, and I think it's kind of a very core thing when it comes down to governance, because we have got people, they would vote on certain decisions, they will hold that proper, incentivization to it. So I think DAOs are also a very core feature to play when it comes down to governance in terms of, how people are trying to contribute here.
Okay, thank you. I think we're kind of coming up to our time, so I just want to finish on a question which I think is where people are talking about now is, so, we currently have central governments and authorities. Where do you see these central governments and authorities coming into play? Would they still be there when the fully Web3 vision is materialized? Are we still going to need them or not? How do you see this happening? What's going to happen?
So, yes, I see that first of all crypto market today is Wild West, and and civilization of this market's growth from year to year, and regulatory they try to help this industry to become more securable for users, because we need to attract new users. Without users, we will not grow. So government, I think, will help with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think government should definitely be supporting this particular thing, but there is probably like a lack of understanding of how the blockchain actually works and
Definitely.
how the decentralization is going to happen. People think that if there is crypto, if all these things, they kind of exist, there can be a lot of technical crimes happening. But if they are able to educate themselves better with the blockchain and they're able to understand the actual power of it, then definitely there is a scope for them to grow in the space and, kind of provide more value to the people.
For sure, there's lots of fear there, I think, both from government and also from kind of central banks, etc., around the crypto space. So, Naveen?
I would say, we are still in the very start of this momentum, but what they have realized is that it's such a strong community. I mean, you can see how many people are here, and everywhere we go, and there are hundreds of these conferences happening around the world. If you see the trading volume of the assets, digital assets, or the tokens, they have realized that this is unstoppable, what few guys have created. But I would say we are still very early. It's like internet in 1980s. So we are still very early, and I think the next 5 years are going to be very important years from the government side, from the regulatory side, from self-government side also, when you see a lot of exchanges going down and up. So I think we are on a good path, but it's the start of the journey.
Thank you. I think you finished off nicely. Where I wanted to finish off a panel is, where do we see, how do we see the progression of this governance and infrastructure in Web3 going? As you mentioned, in 5 years' time, it's going to be important. So, if we look into the future, maybe 2-3 years, maybe 5-8 years, maybe 15 years, if you just give us some kind of thoughts and ideas of where you think we're going to be in this governance model. I know it's a leading question, and you can be as bold or as conservative as you like. You want to start, Vanshika?
Okay, I think in terms of the governance model, we are still kind of experimenting with the things that exist. Recently, the quadratic voting system kind of came in, where people are trying to vote for projects and how well they are doing. So it's like a test and try and run that how things work out well for the models that we are kind of producing for the people to use.
Thank you.
So I think that after 15 years of growing, we can see that some blockchain regulatory from governments can become, together parts of something big thing.
Thank you.
I think, the beauty of this journey is that we don't know how it's going to come out, but we are on a good course.
Okay, thanks. I just want to finish on that. Thanks very much. I think the governance is definitely key because ultimately we should be in power of our data, and right now we're not. So for me, the biggest benefit of the Web3 or what we're getting to is that we should be the owners of our data. We're close to that, but hopefully in the next 5 years we will achieve that with the infrastructure as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.